Well, D of that school certificate or its equivalent means any other qualification acceptable by the Independent National Electoral Commission. But before, we move on, you explain that one. Someone would say that on the basis of C alone, there was really no question as to whether or not General Buhari was qualified.
Did he present first school leaving certificate? And this evidence? Because these things, this is a threshold issue. You understand? Let me give you...
Just a moment. So while we wait to see the primary, because we assume that you must have gone through some primary education for you to have even been in secondary school.
It is a wrong presumption.
But it might be a wrong presumption, but generally it is assumed. But that is on one hand. The other three qualifications, the other three additions. So you have to have been in public service. You must have attended courses for at least a year. And you must be able to read and write
in English.
In English language and communicate effectively. Would you say that he met those criteria from what you've seen or not?
I have not heard or seen any argument about first school leaving certificate. Nor has it been stated that it was presented ab initio. I don't know whether you're getting my point. This certificate issue, the minimum certificate, is a threshold issue. It is just like if you don't have a bow tie, you are not entitled to enter this club. Your driver has a bow tie, carrying your briefcase. He's admitted, and you are turned back.
Where we are now, I mean, with this certificate issue, the general has presented his certificate, at least a statement of it, and also shown that he went to school with some other notable Nigerians. Would you say that it puts to rest this particular question?
I don't think so. But that is left for those who are pursuing the matter. Because first and foremost, is that thing certified? You even answered the question in one of the questions you raised. Because the photograph there, unless there's no photography, there was no photography in 1961 that should have been pasted there. At least he should have looked younger, not the current age. In fact, that photograph they put there is not necessary because he is a very well-known figure that it cannot be duplicated at this stage.
Let me comment here because I think we're missing something here.
Yes.
I was quite excited when Malcolm was reeling out all of this certificate or its equivalent, what it does mean. And it makes it very easy because there's also, a clause there saying to the satisfaction of not you or me.
Which one are you reading?
The satisfaction of INEC.
C or D?
Hold on. C, it tells you about the minimum qualification, and they were trying to define what equivalent is here. And C1, when you go to C2, it's telling you more of that, but again, it's also saying that is acceptable by INEC. And you go to C3, also acceptable by INEC.
Very good.
C4, the same thing by INEC, not you. And I'm quite sure that INEC, even after what we went through with the Electoral Act 2010, and he went through that process in 2011, they accepted all of these going through the laws. And that is why they had no issue with him when he presented the same thing for the 2015 election.
Suleiman, save your breath. You see, you have to first and foremost address the C before you talk about C1, 2, 3.
Good. What
C says first school leaving certificate. You hold it on your left hand. Then you go to another basket and bring. I have spent in this public service or whatever. They say, what is it? You put it there until you add up to that C. The C4 is it?
What about D?
D is standing alone too.
D doesn't represent anything. It says any other qualification acceptable by the Independent National. So if INEC wanted to collect just his qualification that he received in the military, it was perfectly acceptable.
You know why that section is no longer too relevant? Remember, I am a public analyst. I'm not arguing about whether he is qualified or not. What is placed in the public domain is what we are examining for the education of the people out there. The amendment done to the Electoral Act says that INEC cannot disqualify any candidate for whatever reason. So whether it is satisfactory to INEC or not is immaterial, because what INEC is required is once the person has deposed, the candidate has deposed to an affidavit, certifying that all those information he has supplied, which would have included his statement on the certificate or whatever he has, is true, but not, true and nothing but the truth. It becomes a legal document.
But you know that...
Just 1 second. The essence of that affidavit is to criminalize falsehood. By that, there is a wrench holding the candidate. Now, the duty of INEC, therefore, because INEC is no longer in a position to argue with the person. If you say you have a PhD in anything, that's not the business of INEC to verify. INEC is now enjoined by law to publish it in the constituency so that those who know that candidate very well, especially those who are interested parties, like opposition parties, or if the other person sees that this man has more money than myself, and I am more qualified than himself, so the ant will just go one side and hit you on the buttock, and the entire body will be quaking. That's what is going on now. So what the issue is, INEC has only the responsibility of publishing and leaving it to those who are aggrieved
my point is this,
to go to court,
the Constitution,
to contest it.
The Constitution is quite clear in terms of what its requirements are. They seem very simple and straightforward.
And even one for that to interpret it.
And exactly, and they supersede the Electoral Act. The conditions stipulated by the Constitution...
The Constitution never said that INEC
excuse me,
cannot disqualify or disqualify.
But what I'm saying
who
is...
is afraid of
point is
going to the courts now?
It is an uncanny concatenation of fate that even the courts have remained locked up till today,
Because this
making
is
it difficult for anybody to go anywhere.
This is taking time for the electorate to understand.
That is why the whole issue is being canvassed on television and in public places. There is no court to go to. No court to go to. And that's why I said it's an uncanny concatenation of fate.
Does this statement of results have to be a true copy?
Well, you know that if it has to be tendered anywhere, it has to be certified true copy.
Do we assume that, that is going to tender it to INEC?
Because anything you present to INEC is like a carton, which the market woman will call pali. Anything you put inside it, the INEC will contain it. The only thing is that within 7 days or so, INEC will say, this is what has been put inside me, in case you think that what has been put inside me should not have been there. It is your business to do so. And that is why the law allows you to even pay, as an ordinary Nigerian, to pay a certain fee prescribed by INEC to get a copy of whatever INEC has received from any candidate.
So,
at any particular level of election.
Having looked at this entire process, is it that there's a genuine oversight on the part of the Electoral Act or the law, or is this just plain politics about this certificate matter?
In what area do you think it's a plain...
Because people have argued that he's meant to submit, attach documents. Others say you don't need to. The requirements are there and not necessarily that you have to attach documents. That if it shows, first of all, people are talking about WASC. And the Constitution says, look, it's first school living certificate.
No, the Constitution says school living certificate, and then went further to reel out what, if you are able to achieve any of them, will constitute school living certificate.
Not school living certificate, sir. School certificate.
School certificate.
Yes, school certificate.
It's just the language. It's the same thing.
No, the reason
why. Certificate means that you are certified that you left this place with this content, both character and learning.
What I find interesting is this, that D, says that INEC can accept any qualification. In other words, it doesn't even have to be primary or secondary school.
Qualification.
Any other qualification as acceptable
qualification shows
by INEC
that there must be something minimum that you must show before you enter the race for that particular position or any of the particular
Exactly.
positions.
So if you
But
say,
because INEC cannot disqualify a candidate, these are even Supreme Court rules.
This is what is stipulated in the Electoral Act. I mean, the last part.
That part is not in
want to
conflict
know-
with the constitutional
What I
provision.
want to know,
It's not.